Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another live episode of the Crypto Society live market overview. I'm joined by Bilo the former bear, who is down now, definitely a bull, especially today with a new all-time high on Bitcoin. How are you, Bilo?
Very good, thank you. How are you? How's everybody? Hope everybody's doing fine. Hope everybody's as excited as we are. We're witnessing a historical event today, another all-time high. Especially that not that long ago, we were circulating and hovering around the 28K region. And there was a lot of FUD out there in crypto world saying we were going to go back down to 20 and then 14. And yeah, we've come a long way in such a short period of time. It's not even funny. We'll start off how we usually start off by explaining where we were and how we got to where we are today. We had a grand cycle wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Culminating at an all-time high in April of approximately 65K. This ended with an ending wave diagonal, which is usually a very bearish sign for a correction. The correction normally should have ended somewhere around wave 3, which was at around 42K. But due to the euphoria in the market, everybody going long, all the positions, open interest in such high numbers, this resulted in what's called a flash crash, which is a liquidation, which leads to a further drop, an acceleration in the drop in pricing, which leads to further liquidations, and we flash crashed down all the way to approximately 30K. Since then, we were in this channel, which we discussed previously on many occasions during the time, and we likened this, or actually just, basically pointed out that this was the Wyckoff accumulation channel. From which we had a low volume sell-off, which is this right here, followed by a test, and we've just basically been making it up since then. We've gone up to 52K, came back down with another ABC. This particular ABC here is different than this ABC in that the psychology of the market at this point was not similar to the psychology of the market at this point, which resulted in this flash crash. People were more conservative in their open positions. And so we had a regular one-to-one ABC. Since then, we've broken out of the channel, this mini Wyckoff channel that we see here, and we are where we are today. Now, over the past 2 weeks, I did mention that I've been working on a the biggest cycle Elliott wave count for Bitcoin since the conception of Bitcoin. I'm ready to present something to you guys today. It's not pretty. It's a lot of lines, so it might look very messy, but I'll try to explain it as best as I can. One thing, guys, is, and just to point out, it's not for anything, but for those of you that have been following this weekly live market overview, you'll notice that during this accumulation phase, we encouraged everybody to basically accumulate Bitcoin. We felt strongly during this stage that Bitcoin was going to go up. We did the same thing here. And we're about to tell you, even at an all-time high, that it's not over. Here's the reasoning. So I think it's on my other, not this one. Just going to find the chart, guys. Sorry, because there's quite a few charts. Yeah, okay, here we go. So I'm just going to do my best to explain this as simply as possible because I don't want it to be complicated. I'm going to go into a weekly view of Bitcoin and try to explain to you why I feel like we are actually now in wave 5. And this is the grand cycle or the most superior Bitcoin 5-wave cycle since its conception. This being the conception somewhere here. It doesn't have to be exact. So wave 1 was the high in 2017. Wave 2 is in 2019. And then as I've explained before, and maybe this is a good place to kind of explain it again to you guys, Elliott waves are a series of 5 waves, okay, followed by 3 corrections. So, and typical wave looks like this: 1, 2, cycle, I should say, 3, 4, 5. And then what happens after a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a correction A, B, C. This is a typical Elliott wave complete cycle. Okay. What's important to know is that in waves 1, 3, and 5 are impulse or motive waves, and waves 2 and 4 are correction waves. Okay. So this could obviously also be in the opposite direction. It could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down. What's important to know and understand in all this, just so I can explain to you what I did to the right, is that each impulse wave, 1, 3, and 5, they're either impulse or motive waves, actually also consist of 5 waves. So wave 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves in it. Okay. And then waves 2 and 4 are corrective waves, and corrective waves, as you may have guessed by now, are ABC waves. And now this can get very complicated because now inside of wave 1 of 1, you also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So it's a cycle inside of a cycle inside of a cycle. And what I'm going to show you now is the grandest possible cycle. There is no cycle that's at a degree higher than the one I'm about to show you. So if this was wave 1 and this is wave 2, and wave 3 was the all-time high we saw in April of this year, well, then wave 4 would have been the drop to 28K, and we're now in the process of making wave 5, okay? Something that's very important, guys, in Elliott wave, one of the most important rules of Elliott wave is that wave 3 can never be the shortest wave, okay? It can never be the shortest wave. Right now, based on this projection, wave 3 would be the longest wave. Now, if this is wave 4, then inside of wave 5, like I showed you guys here, each impulse wave, whether it's 1, 3, or 5, has 5 smaller waves inside of it. And then we can go forever because each wave, 1, 3, 5 here, has smaller waves and so on. So what we want to focus on is waves 4 to 5. Okay, that's what we want to focus on. So if I go to a nude chart without any analysis on it, what's important to keep in mind is that this is the area we're looking at right here. So I'm just going to highlight it. We're looking at this area right here. Why? Because I'll just, okay, make it a bit less dense. Why are we looking at this area? Because like we said, this was wave 3, this is 4, and now we're going up to 5. So the objective is to find out where 5 is. Now, as we noticed on the previous chart, wave 5 is the top, right? There is no higher than wave 5. So what happens after wave 5 is we see a correction. So the case I'm about to show you is we reach wave 5 and then we have a major correction, okay? So if this was wave 4, then now we have to project wave 5. So we're going to do several things. Since we said that we have 5 waves inside of wave 5, without getting too technical on how the subwaves are, we're going to assume, okay, we're just going to assume that this is wave 1, this is wave 2, inside of wave 5, right, guys? This is wave 1, this is wave 2. Now we're looking for wave 3. Ideal location for wave 3 is somewhere around 1.618 extension of waves 1 to 2. That is just Elliott wave case extrapolation of waves 1, 2. Okay, it doesn't mean we can go higher, but we are going to be targeting 1.618 for wave 3 in this case as the target. Okay. Why 1.618 actually is exciting in this case also is because what we see here is we see a cup and handle. Okay, and I'm going to just draw it out so you guys can see it clearly. It could actually be also an inverse head and shoulders if you draw it this way, but we'll start off with the cup and handle for a target, and then we'll look at the inverse head and shoulders. If at any point there's anything that I'm saying that's not clear, please interrupt me and ask, because it's important that you follow through with me on the reasoning on this. So if we look at a cup and handle formation, and this would be the cup right here. Okay. And obviously this would be the handle. I'm just going to draw it nicely so it's clean. The target of a cup and handle is essentially the bottom of the cup to the neckline transposed on top of the neckline. Okay. So if you do it perfectly, we get to 77,692, which is pretty close to 1.618. Okay, 1.618, as I said earlier, was the ideal target for what do you call it? Waves 1 to 2, and here we're getting like so close to it, 77,692 and 1.618 starting at this wave here, because these are all corrective waves. This is wave 0 starts here, and this was like, if you want to call it this, the spring of this accumulation. So if we, not the spring, sorry, the low volume sell-off of this particular accumulation and a larger scheme, and I'll draw another rectangle so you guys can see it. Again, all based on Wyckoff accumulation theory. So this here would be the low volume sell-off, and this would be the test start of wave 1. So 1, 2, okay? Wave 3 targeting is 1.618, which also happens to be the target, very close to the target of this inverse of this cup and handle. Now, guys, we're looking here at Bitstamp. If I look at Binance, it might be hitting exactly 1.618. If I look at KuCoin, it might be a bit above. It doesn't really matter. This just buys the credibility that I need to certify that wave 3, this is a logical place for wave 3 because of the target of the cup and handle, okay? So, excuse me. So based on this, based on this, now I'm going to draw a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 formation. So this is wave 1. This is wave 2. This is wave 3. Let's talk a little bit later about wave 4. We'll just put it here for now. But based again on Elliott wave theory, if wave 3 is at 1.618 of extension 1 to 2, wave 5 lands almost always between waves 2 and wave 2.618. So, which is somewhere here. Okay, guys? So on a grand scheme of things, I've just showed you, just for wave 5, why I'm targeting around 96K, which is just between halfway point between wave 2 and wave 2.618. Okay, somewhere in this region. I don't want to be exact. I'm not going to tell you to the penny, but let's call it somewhere here, and I'll just draw it in green. Okay, and then I want to do something a little different. I'm going to go back to the other chart I was on before, if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Now we're going to repeat this exercise with the grand cycle waves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, if you take out a calculator, and again, I don't want to make this, too messy, but if wave 3 hits, and now this is just Elliott wave theory, if wave 3 hits 1.618 extension of waves 1 to 2, and wave 5 is in between 2.618 and 2, well, 2.618 plus 2 is 4.618, divided by 2 is 2.3. 2.3 is the location and the target for wave 5. Now, if wave 3, the all-time high, the previous all-time high, happened to be at, let's get the exact number, let's say 65K, 64,899. Let's call it 65K. So 2.3 times 65,000. Excuse me, not 2.3. 2.3 extension from here, which is 1.54 times 65,000 gives me 100,000. The exact number that I have here is 64,800 times 1.54 gives me 99,000. Okay, 99,000 is pretty much where I have wave 5 here. Okay, so wave 5, because wave 3 to 5 is 1.54, wave 5 on the grand scheme of things gets me to 99,000 approximately. And if we go back to the chart that I just drew for you guys, analyzing only wave 5 by itself and going into the subwaves, the target for wave 5 of wave 5 was 97,000. So I'm off by $2,000 for wave 5 sub 5 and for wave 5 from the grand cycle. Have I lost you, or are you guys still with me on this?
Still with you.
Okay. So essentially what I'm saying is, from an Elliott wave perspective, from analyzing these charts, from going back all the way to the beginning and trying to put together an Elliott wave projection from when Bitcoin was $0 to where it is today, the target before we retrace is between 95 to 100K, let's say, for Bitcoin before, in my opinion, we start to see a retracement. And I don't mean that Bitcoin is going to go straight up, because, right, we have to figure out wave 4, and then we're going to go to wave 5. And inside of waves 2 to 3, there's, don't forget, we're going to see a structure that looks like this: 3, 4, 5. I'll draw it up in another color, and I'll make it smaller, and I'll zoom in, because nothing goes straight up, guys. The reason why there's retracements is because there's waves. These waves start and end, and then they retrace, and then they go up, and then they have their own set of rules, okay? But essentially, this wave 3 that we're in right now is wave 3 of wave 5. Wave 5 started here, and I'm projecting it's going to end here, okay? And inside of each one of these waves is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm not telling you we're going straight here. What I am telling you is we are not going to drop. We should not drop. As this is wave 5, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, cannot drop more than 53. So I'm telling you there is a possibility we can go back down to 53. Okay, I don't think it's likely. I think we'll go down and retest the all-time high, maybe a little bit the previous all-time high, maybe a little bit below it. But technically, this wave count remains valid so long as we don't go below 53. But ultimately, it's 55, 97 to 100, or let's call it 97, just whatever. 97, 98K is what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for this year. I'm not looking for this next year. I'm saying this should happen this year. The only thing I haven't been able to do in preparing for this presentation is looking at the timelines, because in Elliott wave, there are other rules. We already know wave 2, how long it took. There's actually rules based on the wave structure that can tell me, not necessarily just, you know, the exact target of wave 4, but how long it should take for wave 4 to play out. And based on the angle of slope for wave 2, wave 4 would look like kind of like the opposite. So if 2 was considered to be a long wave versus wave 1, in the sense that it took how long? Let's see. And I don't have all the answers, but I just wanted to share this with you, especially that we did make the all-time high like we predicted this year at a minimum. So we're very excited about that. But wave 2, according to this, it was 21 days. Okay. So my next presentation next Wednesday, I'll try to make a projection for wave 4. We're not, guys, we're oops, what did I do? We're not going to see this, guys. Okay. I'm just telling you right now, we're not going to see this. This is not going to happen. You're not going to see this. It's just not going to happen. And what you got to start paying attention to are the volume bars. What I suspect you'll start to see over the next couple of days is this volume bar start to increase. Even though we're making higher highs, there's got to be a retracement. You have to have a retracement. Okay? So people will start to take profit at some point, and you will start to see retracements and lower volume. And this will result in what's called bearish divergence. And this bearish divergence is necessary for the market cycle to do what it has to do. You're starting to see here these two lines converge. This tells me, and I'm going to start to see this light blue section here converge, meaning that we're going to start to see this kind of turnover. If we were to look at a MACD right now, we would probably start to see the MACD turnover, depending on which time frame you're on. But what matters to me is that we're not going to go straight up to the target. That's for sure. Anybody have any questions or comments on this so far?
And the room went silent.
Okay. Now, guys, this is a scenario, okay? Like, I don't have a crystal ball. Tomorrow, there could be news out of the IRS that screws all this up. This is just Elliott Wave TA. We're in price discovery, so there is no resistances to speak of and say, okay, we've got to hit that point or that point. We're purely in price discovery. So projection and price discovery is a very difficult thing. But what I'm showing you here is very basic and pure Elliott Wave theory without any external market factors. So if tomorrow there's some bad news coming out of the States with the SEC or God knows what else, this doesn't mean anything. It'll correct the way it corrects. If tomorrow the majority of the whales decide to take profit and you see a big dump, well, if it dumps below this point, what I can tell you is this wave count is no longer valid. We have to start looking for another wave count. That's how Elliott Wave works. It's no guarantee of what's to come. It's what I think will happen, and I could say that maybe 5 times out of 10, the path. I'm not even just saying up or down, because obviously you flip a coin 5 times out of 10, you'll probably be right. I'm talking about the path. I'm talking about how the cycle is going to work and why we're going to get somewhere, versus just saying, oh, we're going to be at 100K and just a nice round number. No, there's an actual reason for this. The chart really looks bullish at the moment. We'll see how that changes, but I don't usually look at the monthly, but in trying to do this grand cycle prediction, I had to look at the monthly. And one thing I noticed, and something I haven't seen, I don't think I ever saw it. Look at this, Pampay, on the monthly.
Nice, very nice.
Okay, so I'll let Pampay explain this.
Okay, so that is a change in momentum. So if you look at the momentum waves, which are the light and the dark blue waves that you can see, as you see a change in momentum, so where we've been going down, and now we've, I guess officially according to Market Cypher, we've changed direction and we're going up. It's produced a buy signal, or rather a long signal, suggesting that we will be going up for a little while.
Now, one thing you're going to understand right away, guys, and I think we've discussed divergences a few times on these live market overviews and on the TA channel for you to understand. A divergence is simply when you see a higher high on the chart, but your oscillator is making a lower high. That's called the bearish divergence. Now, we cannot say we're in bearish divergence yet because there's still 11 days for this candle to close. We still have 11 days. But currently, the resistance this candle has to overcome from an RSI perspective and from an MFI perspective is right here. It's currently sitting at 70, 80%. It has to get above 94% on MFI. I believe this is MFI. I'm just going to make sure. Yes, it is MFI. And it has to get above 90% on RSI, or else it's bearish divergence, which means as we're making higher highs, volume is dropping. And this eventually will lead to a pullback. And you know what? I want to see that pullback, because if I don't see the pullback, if we don't see the pullback, then nothing continues to go up forever. So the market is at risk. There will be more fear, and people will start to take premature profits. Versus if you see a normal cycle pullback and you're able to count waves and say that it's a normal correction, there won't be that fear of capitulation and immediate liquidation of, I don't know how much open interest there is right now. And I didn't get a chance to check this, but typically when open interest is very high, it's time to kind of be a little worried about the market. And the difference between worried because we're gonna have a bear market and the difference between that and it's time for a correction is night and day, because you don't know the exact timing of when that correction will come. But if you know we're about to flip to a bear market, you want to be out. But if it's just a correction, I personally, I'm not out. Everybody has been saying over the past week, if you read in a lot of places, take profit, take profit. I agree. I always want to take profit, but I don't think it's time to take profit. And we see alts today starting to rally as well. This tells me that these are signs that Bitcoin should be stable here and maybe correct a little bit. It's done the all-time high thing. It's done it. It's touched the rim of the if you want to use a basketball analogy, it's touched the rim. It's going to go for the slam dunk a little later. It's gone higher, but it's not going to do the slam dunk now. It's going to calm down a little bit, give everybody else a chance to catch up, and then it's going to go for it. And I'm expecting, based on my unfinished analysis, that this will happen before the year is over. Yeah.
So, question real quick. With it's gonna come down before it goes up.
Yes.
What you just now said, you mean the previously suggested wave 4 then?
No, wave 4 is done. Okay, so I'll let me explain again. It's okay.
Sorry, I mean the wave
We're in
4
wave
or
5.
2 within the wave 5.
Exactly, Alex. So we're in wave 5, right?
Yep,
This
yep.
here is wave 5. Wave 4 is over. It was over here. This was wave 3. This is wave 4. We're now inside of wave 5. So if we go into a smaller time frame, let me just kind of fix this a little bit. If we go into a smaller time frame, then, like I said, this was wave 5 starts right here. So if I was to just draw here, this is wave 4 right here, ends right here, okay? Wave 5 starts here, and in my opinion, will end somewhere here. Inside of wave 5, there's 5 waves. So this is wave 1. This is wave 1. This is wave 2. I'm saying this should be wave 3. I have to figure out wave 4 based on many factors. I haven't had a chance. Corrective waves are a lot harder to predict than pulse waves. And then I'm saying this is where wave 5 of 5 will end. And this to me is going to be the top before we have a major correction. Okay?
Okay, but that okay, so that does answer my question then, because I mentioned that, or I wanted to know
something like it might look like this. Like major.
Gotcha. And that same sort of pattern will play between 3 and 4 as well, just in
exactly.
tinier.
3 and 4 is going to have an ABC. Now, the problem with ABC corrections, the problem with ABC is you have 5 different kinds of corrective waves. And then each type of corrective wave, you have flat, you have diagonal, you have 3-3-3, you have 5-3-5. And then it's very complicated. Honestly, it's a lot easier to target impulse waves than it is to target corrective waves.
Gotcha.
One thing that the one thing that we do know is that wave 4 is not supposed to retrace and be lower than wave 1. That we know. However, in highly leveraged markets, it's possible. So that makes it even harder to predict. But as a general rule of thumb, you don't want to see a retracement below wave 1. If you do, it should be very temporary, like a wick and going back up. And that's only because we're highly leveraged. So that wick, if we were to see kind of boom, this, and then go back out, that's basically liquidations that happened, and it wicked below before it went back up.
And that wick would be on a weekly, a monthly, a daily?
That wick would be like, in the scale we're looking here, it would be like more on a daily that you would see the big wick. Because remember, as you go, as you go into like a 30-minute chart, 15, it becomes the noises. I mean, look.
Well, yeah.
Just looking between here and here, there's probably very easily 5 different wave structures. So I'm not analyzing it down to the T. It's like
oh, okay.
Yeah. Because what got me thinking about this, okay, is that previously I was saying that this was wave 5, and this is wave 5, but it's wave 5 of wave 3. Okay, I wasn't thinking too much to the right, because everything on the right happens after a correction, and essentially we start a new cycle. Well, this cycle is a cycle with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. Now, if you start to go back and you try to make it all fit in, now that you have a target for wave 5 based on this impulsive move right here and this correction, it doesn't make it falls in line with wave 5 of this wave, where this is wave 3. So it just adds more confluence that this was actually wave 3 and this was wave 4 and this was wave 5, rather than this was wave 5 We had our correction, and now we're starting a brand new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if this was a brand new 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the grand scheme of things, then this would be wave one. I mean, now we're talking about Bitcoin in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. We're not there. We're not there. So to me, when you look at everything put together, when you reanalyze the chart from day one of Bitcoin, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with this being 3 and not 5, works with confluence with what we see here. That's what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure. In a way, guys, it's like all that really matters right now is we broke the all-time high. Not long ago, most big YouTubers that were talking about Bitcoin, they were almost all talking about a 20 or a 14K Bitcoin. Okay, we are where we are. It's amazing. It looks today like it's like the alt market is catching up. So usually we say when Bitcoin comes down, the alt market catches up. Well, you know what? The alt market is catching up. So for whatever reason, there's enough consensus that Bitcoin is going to be stable for the alt market to catch up. If there was a fear of an imminent dump, you would at the very least not see the alts move the way they're moving today, just from a psychological perspective. Okay, and what's really interesting, guys, and I share this every week, I'm going to share it again. It's just very, very interesting. Is if we go on crypto quant, look at this. Okay, as Bitcoin is making higher highs, Bitcoin's reserves on exchanges are dropping. They're dropping. You know what that means, right? When there's no Bitcoin on an exchange, you can't sell it.
Would that be the ETFs needing said Bitcoin?
You know what? Maybe. I don't know. But one thing that's for sure, and all I want to draw as a conclusion from this, is when Bitcoin is on an exchange, you can make the argument that it's on an exchange to play with our heads, to make us sell, to use in leverage, because you don't need USDT to long. You could use Bitcoin to long, right? So being on an exchange, it has multiple uses. The commonly held belief is when Bitcoin flows into an exchange, it's about to dump. But you could make the argument that Bitcoin's flowing onto exchanges to manipulate our thought processes so we can dump. Could make the argument that Bitcoin is going onto an exchange so that it could be used in leverage positions for longs. You don't need to long with USDT. But the only conclusion to be drawn when Bitcoin is gone out of exchanges is it's not available for sale. So it's very bullish. This is extremely bullish. And we started to notice that as Bitcoin price was going down, as the price was dumping, here people were like, oh yeah, we're going back to 15, 20. Again, we heard the same FUD. Bitcoin was at 52 and it made its way down to 43 in a relatively short period of time. But look at the reserves. The Bitcoin reserves during that time were dropping. So as the price of Bitcoin was dropping, people were removing Bitcoin off of exchanges. And these people are not people like you and me. These are major whales that make up these blue lines. It's not what you and I are going to put on or off an exchange that's going to affect this chart. We're talking about, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. So seeing this is what made me feel very confident that we're not going to have a dump, but that in fact, we were going to be seeing all-time highs very soon. And that's in fact what happened. On-chain, guys, I mean, this is like, I get very excited because it's not something I've been doing a long time. And I've recently started looking into on-chain, and I wish I had earlier. And this is the free chart. Like, you can all access this chart. It's free. Okay. And the difference between the free chart and what you pay for is that the free chart gives you data that's maybe 2-3 days old. Imagine having the data that, a whale would have, which is like right this second, there's this much Bitcoin being transferred, or, there's so many metrics, right? You have so many metrics. This is just one of them that I like to use. There's miner flows, there's bank flows, there's so many things that you can look into here. But the free version gives you a delayed chart versus the paid version, which gives you the full picture, is about $800 a month. It's not cheap. I mean, you really have to be, someone that does this very seriously to want to be able to pay those kind of fees. But yeah, I encourage all of you to look into CryptoQuant, Glassnode, and learn a little bit about on-chain analysis and interpret this data, because it's very, very helpful. Very helpful. So that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you guys about Bitcoin. I'm excited. I feel like we're gonna be continuing up. We're gonna see some corrections for sure. It's normal. It's needed for these corrections to happen, because that's how cycles work. You have to have that 1, 2. The 2 is a correction. 3, 4. The 4 is a correction. That's just how it is. That's how market cycles work. That's just the way it is.
Can I ask another question? Is there time for that?
Of course, yes.
Awesome. Earlier you mentioned briefly alts would normally respond in way X, and then you said that they are actually now responding in way Y. I believe it was that usually when Bitcoin would enter wave 4, or that small correction, is when alts would be catching up, whereas now they're either stable or going up already a little bit. Would you say that we're expecting that trend to continue into the wave 4, or that correction of Bitcoin? Or would you say that, given that they have now sort of jumped the gun, that they join Bitcoin in a correction?
Sure. So if you're talking about this wave 4, this one here, we haven't reached it yet. Okay. We're still inside of wave 3, and inside of wave 3, if I go into a 4-hour time frame, we could start trying to analyze, because inside of wave 3, let me just move this from here. Inside of wave 3, here we go. Inside of wave 3, we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not drawing it accurately, guys. I'm just trying to explain. Okay, so it's important to realize that, because we haven't started wave 4 of this cycle of grand cycle 5. We're still in wave 3 of grand cycle 5. And if we were to start counting further, it's an exercise I haven't done yet, but I would start counting now. Okay, where does wave 1 end? Where is this wave 2? Is this wave 3? And it's not as simple as just counting, because there's a lot of rules that have to be adhered to. It could be that this is wave 1 and this is a flat ABC here. I have to analyze it. Okay, this could be wave 3 here, and now we could see a correction to wave 4 somewhere, and then wave 5 is coming. So what I said earlier, and I'll explain it a different way, is that normally when Bitcoin pumps, we see alts dump. When Bitcoin dumps, we see alts dump. When's the only time we normally see alts pump? It's when Bitcoin is stable. It's when it's ranging, right? You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here, we haven't seen Bitcoin range yet, because it just hit an all-time high. The fact that the alts are pumping is making me hypothesize that we're about to see Bitcoin range. It's a bit counterintuitive, because normally we see Bitcoin range and then the alts start to pump. But in this case, Bitcoin just made an all-time high. It's retraced slightly and alts are pumping. So I'm proposing that the theory that maybe we're going to see Bitcoin range right now, and that the reason behind the pump is an overall consensus in the market that Bitcoin at this stage should be ranging rather than pumping or dumping. It's not scientific what I'm saying. I'm saying psychologically speaking, that's what I think is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally you go back and analyze, backtest, alts pump when Bitcoin ranges. Bitcoin hasn't had a chance to range. It just hit an all-time high. So why are alts pumping? So to me, the only explanation I can come up with is that there's confidence in the market that Bitcoin is going to range here. That's what I'm saying.
People are also trying to get ahead of the game, ahead of the curve before the rest pump.
Possibly.
How do you make crypto cool for the younger generation?
Gaming.
Well, that
Are
was
you
easy.
saying are you saying how do you get the younger generation interested in crypto?
Yes.
So look, for sure, DJ is right, gaming, but I think the younger generation hear about crypto millionaires, crypto people that, you know, started off with not much and today they're millionaires, and they want a piece of that. So whether it's gaming, whether it's investing in a coin, whether it's I have kids, I hear it from them. It's not because I talk to them about this, but they are interested because they hear about Bitcoin everywhere. They hear about, Dodge. They heard Dodge made people millionaires. They hear about it. It's this adoption is because everybody's talking about it. It's not for anything that there's ETFs right now because the banks realized everybody knows about this now. It's no longer a few people that know about crypto. Everybody has heard about crypto and the gains that could be made. So we need to get in on this.
And it's funny
Actually-
you ask about that as well, because my son has asked me to set him up. He's 8.
Yeah.
He's asked me to set him
it's
up
crazy.
crypto wallets today.
It's insane.
Actually, I think it was Nicole who said her children were into Doge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought Doge for my son. He asked me to do it. I think it was 4 months ago when it was near its peak, when Elon was going on to Saturday Night Live. So I bought some for him using my account. And just as I bought some for him, I shorted it with my money. I won, and I took the money off him.
You're a fucker.
It's a
he
good
said,
learning
no.
opportunity.
He said, why? I said, no, you didn't read what was going on. You have to look into it. And he's reading now. He's
That's
8,
tough.
but
That's
he's
tough.
reading.
As I said, the lesson learned.
Mm.
Well
And
done,
then
you.
from then on, he doesn't trust you anymore. Every time you make him some food, he looks at it and says, "You have some first, Dad."
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, but it's British food, so it's all beige.
Indeed. Or as I call
Mashed
it, brown
potato.
food.
And for the pumps as well, just to go back and not to Pumpeye, the next one that should rock it is ETH. So if
Yeah.
that ranges, ETH should pump big time.
I'm pretty sure that Ethereum has just crossed 4,100.
Yeah,
So
it's just
there-
at 493 at the moment.
Here's what we had for ETH last time in our last TA last week.
Sorry, I was in the pub.
That's okay.
No, it's not.
So this is the target for ETH from last week.
Terrible behavior.
That's not. I know that's not bad as a stopgap for 5.2. That's all right.
Just so MRX ask a question. Use your microphone, man.
He'll be out partying.
Does the ETF somehow make Bitcoin inflationary again?
No,
Well, there's a limited
No,
supply of Bitcoin, so Bitcoin can't be inflationary ever.
No.
you can speculate. You can double up on ETFs. You can treble up on ETFs. So you can continue to sell synths. So we've been discussing about synthetic stocks and everything previously through crypto. So you can do a synthesized version, and that's all this ETF is. So you can sell unlimited ETFs, but the underlying Bitcoin will always be deflationary.
So MRX has said he's not speaking because his roommate is sleeping. Get out of his bed. Go to your own room.
No, I think that even a different analogy could be comparing it to gold. There's only going to be an X amount of gold in this earth, and all we can do is extract it. Inflation within gold doesn't exist. There's only what is being extracted, which you could see as inflation, but there is a cap to it eventually.
And there is as well. Although we say there's only going to be 21 million ever of Bitcoin, if all of the miners' consensus, they actually could extend that. That's never going to happen, though.
No, it won't happen. It won't happen. There will be a revolution.
Or you could have Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah. So
You were just looking at DOT.
yeah,
Tell us
I am
more.
looking at that. So DOT guys, yeah, parachain auctions are just around the corner, starting November 11th. Many reasons to buy DOT. Some will be buying DOT because they want to participate in the parachain auctions. There will be others that will buy DOT just to swing it, since there's going to be some buying pressure on DOT. Short-term target for DOT is somewhere around $60. I think we'll see that soon. We have a very nice looking cup and handle. We're about to break out of this channel. DOT is looking very, very bullish. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was the parachain auctions. For those that don't know what the parachain auctions are, or that need some assistance with navigating through the different information out there to separate the truth from the untruths, I'm more than happy to explain it. If there is anybody on this video call that would like the explanation. Is there anybody that would like the explanation? Please speak up.
I think we know about it, but some of the element is to actually help our viewers and listeners.
Okay, so we'll go for it. So one website that I strongly suggest anybody who wants to learn about the parachain auctions to go to is parachains.info. In there, there's explanations that I'll take you through very, very quickly. Okay, so what is a parachain auction? Well, initially we started with the Kusama parachain auctions. For people that don't know, Kusama is the canary network for Polka, for DOT. It's not a test net. People call it a test net. It is a test net, yes, but it's also a lot more. It's its own chain. It has its own ecosystem and has its own projects that will build on it and stay on it. Some projects will eventually migrate to Polkadot once they've tested enough and they feel comfortable, because Polkadot is more expensive to build on. So what happened is that the Kusama parachain auctions were done this year. And what the parachain auctions are essentially is there's a whole bunch of projects that would like to secure a parachain slot on the relay chain, which in this previous case was Kusama. And in order to do so, they have to put together a bid. That bid consists of a number of Kusama tokens, and the higher the number of Kusama tokens that you own for this auction, you bid with that, and you, through that, secure a parachain. Every week for a certain amount of weeks, there were maybe 5 or 6 projects competing. So that's what a parachain auction is. What a parachain crowd loan is instead of these projects spending their own money and going out there and securing 5,000 Kusamas, let's say, to win a parachain, they start a crowd loan. And what the crowd loan is people like you and me can take our Kusamas and lock them up in the parachain auction with the project we support. Okay, in the Kusama parachain auction, for example, we'll talk about the top ones that got parachains. There was Moon River, Shaidan, Karura, Kala. There's others, okay? But in auctions 12 to 15, that's something else. So there's others, okay? But let's say that you wanted to back Moon River and you put up your Kusamas. Well, what ended up happening is if Moon River won a parachain slot, then you, as the donator of your Kusama tokens, or not donator, but lender of the Kusama tokens to Moon River, they were going to be locked up for 48 weeks. And in exchange, you were going to get rewards for locking up your Kusama tokens with Moon River. These rewards came in the form of Moon River tokens. So for every Kusama you locked up with Moon River, you got 14 Moon Rivers back. So if we do the math on this, guys, Moon River hit $500, like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but about a month ago, okay? So imagine you put away 5 Kusamas. You had 5 Kusamas at the time. You locked them up with Moon River. You got back 14 Moon Rivers. 14 times 5 is 75 Moon Rivers. Multiplied by 500 is $37,500 worth of Moon River, when Moon River was $500. Now, you didn't get all these tokens at once. You got like 30%, I believe, when the rewards were given out, and the rest was going to be vesting over the remainder 48 weeks. Now, Moon River by far was the most profitable protocol to support in the Kusama parachain auctions, as I just demonstrated. Some people put money with Moonriver, some with Shiden, some with Karura, some with Kala, some with Kilt, some with several. Some people, staked. I shouldn't use the word stake. Locked up their Kusamas with several projects and ended up getting rewards across these several projects. The one that by far was the most rewarding was Moonriver. So now we have the same principle happening except for Polkadot. So there's going to be the Polkadot parachain auctions. For the Polkadot parachain auctions, the first auction happens between November 1st, November 18th. In order to participate, you will have to do the exact same thing. You're going to have to lock up your DOT tokens. In this case, it's 2 years. Kusama was 48 weeks. The DOT auctions are going to be for 2 years. It's a long time. Okay.
That is, in crypto, that is an exceptionally long time.
It is. But, okay. If you're someone that understands what Polkadot is and you've read up on it and you've researched it and you believe in the ecosystem as a game changer across the crypto space, technically, and guys, I'm giving you my opinion. So, this whole thing, not financial advice. I'm not going to say it every 2 seconds, but in my opinion, this is, for me, it's a long-term hold. I couldn't care less if I had to lock up my Polkadot tokens for 2 years or 3, because for me, it's something that I'm going to keep for a very long time. That's my personal view, okay? Now, if you decide to invest in the parachain auctions, you're going to have, multiple choices. For now, there's Akala, Astar, Centrifuge, Equilibrium, Litten Tree, Moonbeam, and I'll get back to Moonbeam, very important, we'll talk about it, in Parallel Finance, and there's going to be others. Kilt has participated in Kusama, it's going to participate in the Polkadot parachain auctions. We have with us a very important representative from ChainX. He can confirm to you that they will also, I believe, participate. Right?
To my knowledge, yes, though nothing has officially been announced yet.
So politically correct. You should be a politician. Okay.
God, no.
As you can see, the rewards haven't been determined yet. Okay, so what each project is going to reward you they haven't given us that information yet. However, there is something really, really cool. Akala came up with a concept called liquid DOT. Okay, and what that means is if you lock up 100 DOT with Akala, okay, because it's a 2-year-long process, and this passed their governance voting process not that long ago, I think a week ago, because it's a long time to lock up DOT, and because you have no choice but to lock up the DOT, because that's how the parachain auctions work, they've come up with something called liquid DOT, which they will give you for every DOT you lock with them. And that liquid DOT is supposed to have the equivalent value of a real DOT. And there's supposed to be a marketplace where you can trade and exchange that liquid DOT. And at the end of the 2 years, whatever the value of your liquid DOT is, whatever the value of real DOT is, whatever liquid DOTs you end up with, you still have, because you didn't sell them or you didn't trade them or whatever, you can exchange back for your DOT that has been in storage with Akala and Polkadot for 2 years. So again, 100 DOTs locked up with Akala and Polka. Akala gives you 100 liquid DOTs, which you supposedly can trade. And if after 2 years you still have any, well, you exchange what you have left for the real DOT and everybody's happy. So this is a concept that Akala came up with about a week ago, maybe a bit more, announced it. They had a vote on it, and this is what they decided. I think it hasn't happened yet, but I think there may be other people, other projects that do the same thing. I don't know. I think that other projects may do the same thing. It could also be that Akala wants to attract more investment, and therefore they did this, because obviously there has to be an intrinsic value to this liquid DOT. So it can't just be in their minds that it has value. There has to be real value, and there has to be adoption across the community that liquid DOT has value. So I don't know if the other projects are going to participate and do the same thing. In my opinion, it kind of defeats the purpose. of locking up tokens, in my opinion. So I don't know how that's going to go, but that's what Akala is proposing. Now, everybody
Can I quickly, before you move on to the next one, give a little or a different perspective on the use of this liquid dot?
So essentially, there's not much of a perspective other than they realize that 2 years is a long time, and they want people to feel like they're not stuck having to lock up tokens for 2 years, which is a very long time, like Pumpy pointed out in crypto. And so they're giving them this option where they're going to give them a liquid dot, I'll call it a synthetic dot, okay, where you can go and kind of trade it, and it should be pegged value-wise to the value of dot. So they must have some sort of a market maker that's ready to buy that liquid dot token and some bots to keep it pegged to the real value of dot.
That's what I'm contesting. I don't think it'll be pegged to the real value of dot, because you're basically buying something that you'll get back in a year time. For example, if you want to sell your liquid dot, you'll have to sell it at not at a loss, but at a discount to someone else who's ready to say, okay, I will buy your dot at a discount, knowing that in 2 years' time, I can get it for probably worth more of whatever it will be worth then. Sort of like a future along.
Yep. Listen, you're very right. This could very well be the case. They haven't outlined any more than there will be this liquid dot available that you can you can trade, you can exchange, and at the end of the period, you can give it back, and we'll give you back your dots. So, I mean, I personally don't like this, because it really defeats the purpose of taking out dot from circulation. The whole point of this is to increase the value of dot and reduce the supply, because with a reduced supply, value theoretically, technically should rise. Okay. So I personally don't like the concept. People that want to participate and get the rewards should be happy to just lock their dots, and that's it. So we'll see how this plays out. It's a good point, Alex. I honestly don't know. We'll see how that plays out.
We'll see. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, very good point. Thank you. Moon River, everybody has their eyes on Moon River for obvious reasons, okay? Because, I mean, it really made some people very, very rich. If you, for whatever reason, felt that Moon River was going to hit the way it hit, I mean, I know people that put a lot of money into Moon River, and today they're very, very happy. So now everybody's looking at Moonbeam saying, oh, well, Moon River did it. Moon River is the Kusama network for the Canary network for Moonbeam, so Moonbeam's gonna do it. I don't know. I'm gonna invest. I'm gonna put dots in Moonbeam. I just don't. I don't know. I don't think that when everybody knows something, that in investment, for people to make money, some have to lose it, and if everybody knows the same thing, well, then it's not so special anymore. And I kind of feel like Moonbeam is going to disappoint a lot of people when it comes to the parachain auctions. I'm not discouraging people from putting tokens and locking them with Moonbeam. I'm only cautioning not to expect the same returns that we saw from Moon River. That's my only message. Akala, I mean, it did okay. It's free tokens, guys. So I mean, if you put away one Kusama, you got 22 Karuras, but obviously 14 movers at $263 versus 22 Karuras at $8. It's a big difference, right?
Yeah, that is a big difference.
Huge difference.
It's in some ways it's a shame that they've done this, or well, obviously it's worked out because of the timing of projects and so on. But it's a shame that it's at this point of the bull run that you are being asked to lock it up, because I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who are buying in at this particular stage deliberately for the parachain auctions, and they'll be spending a lot more on their Polkadot than the people who have bought earlier on, who are staking it for that same reason.
I agree, but at the same,
it's a bit buying the top. Not that we're at the top, but it's kind of buying the top.
We're not at the top.
Being forced to hold it.
Look, we're not at the top, and it's important. Nobody's forced to do anything. I mean, you don't have to participate.
No, of course
right?
not. But I mean, if they're going to stake them, then, or if they're going to lock them up, then they are essentially being forced to hold on to them, no matter what.
But the thing is, Yeah, I agree with you. But the thing is that the parachain auctions are very old news. Okay, I mean, we've been talking about parachain auctions since last year when DOT was a lot cheaper, let's say. Okay.
Which is also kind of what pissed people off.
Yeah, because
Like parachains, for me, for someone who is, very intricately intertwined with one of the parachain projects, something that I've seen a lot in the community, all communities for that matter, is being tired of parachain soon, parachain this, parachain that, and then having to wait for a year, essentially, to finally get those parachains going. Has done something to a lot of the older people as well in that regard to their sentiment towards Polkadot and towards Kusama. So maybe it's a good thing we're getting new people in here.
I think we're definitely going to get new people because people are looking to repeat what happened on the Kusama chain, parachains. And my concern is, and it's not a concern because there's nothing anybody can do about it, but people will be disappointed. You're not going to, I don't believe we'll see the same returns that we saw on the Kusama parachain auctions. That I don't think so.
No, the number of tokens as well in Moonbeam is completely different from Moonriver.
Yeah, it's different tokenomics completely. Yep. Yeah, different tokenomics, and Moonbeam did have private allocation. I know this for a fact. I know people that had private allocations in Moonbeam. Nobody got a private allocation in Moonriver. But
that's a good detail to have.
But it doesn't mean there were no VCs in Moonriver. There were no VCs in the sense that they didn't get private sales. But if you had 1,000 KSM, well, guess what? You're a VC. You're a whale in Moonriver, right? So it doesn't mean there are no whales in Moonriver. The narrative, it's a community coin and all this. Okay, that's nice. It's community owned. It's community governance. There are no private sales, but it doesn't mean there are no major whales holding Moonriver that can affect and dump and pump and I love Moonriver. I'm not shitting on it. It's one of my favorite projects. I've been reading up a lot on it because I like what they're doing. I like the interoperability. I like that you can go between Ethereum virtual machine and Polkadot. I like that there's a bridge coming very soon between Moonriver and Moonbeam. I like all the DEXs that are setting up on it. I like the NFT that's going to happen on it soon. There's a lot going for it. But by no means should anybody fool themselves into thinking this is, a community poor man's token, because there are serious big players with a lot of Moonriver right now. That's all.
If I may ask, Bilo, what are your favorites currently that are going to be going into the DOT parachains?
I'm definitely investing in the parachains. So I'll be upfront and tell you, I'm definitely going to put all my dots into the parachains. I'm not going to leave one.
All of them?
All of them. Okay. Again, this is not financial advice. This is what I'm going to do. Because I believe in DOT long term. And even if it was to drop, or even if I thought it was going to drop, I still wouldn't sell it. And I would like to get free tokens. So I'm now deciding where am I going to get the most value for my DOT in terms of free token rewards. I'm still going to invest in Moonbeam. I'm probably going to invest also in Moonriver. And I'm trying to pick a third one to kind of split them up between the three. Because again, I don't believe we're going to see the same results we saw from Moonriver into Moonbeam. And I think a lot of people are going to be throwing their money at Moonbeam thinking the same thing's going to happen. I don't think so. I really don't think so. And like Dave just pointed out, it's not even the same tokenomics. You can't compare the two. So I'd be looking at Akala, I'd be looking at Moonbeam, and a third one. I haven't decided. But for sure, those two. That's just for me.
So, Bilo, just a question in terms of practicality or logistics around Binance. So I heard that Binance is going to create a process of being able to participate. Do you think that that's advisable, or do you think it's better to do it?
Sure. So I personally think
way?
Not just Binance. There's Qcoin, I think Kraken. There's a lot of exchanges that don't want to see the dots on them leave. So they want to be able to participate. They want you to participate through them for multiple reasons, because the exchanges always want you to feel dependent on them. Okay. So if they see that you could do this without them, that you can go start up your own wallet, well, tomorrow it's not going to be just DOT. It's going to be something else. And slowly you're going to migrate away. So they're going to encourage you. They're going to do everything they can to try to keep you. Now, are you losing anything by participating through the exchange? As far as we know today, no. However, there are already programs, and you could look one up. It's called, I got to remember now. It's called the sub-social token. That's the word. You guys can Google it, okay? It's called the sub-social token. And if you held Kusama in a private wallet between day A and day B, I don't remember the exact dates, you qualify for an airdrop. And you will not get that airdrop if you held your tokens on an exchange. I mean, we've known this a long time, right? Not your Alex's favorite preach.
Not your keys, not your coins.
There you go. So you will be able to participate in the parachain auctions if you are going through an exchange, but you might be leaving some money on the table in case down the line there are any airdrops for having your tokens held in a private wallet. Okay. So that's why I would suggest, and I've been suggesting to everybody, if you want to participate in the parachain auctions and you have your dots on an exchange, even if they're not locked, do not wait to the last minute, because we've seen this many times where exchanges very conveniently start to have withdrawal issues around the time where people start to withdraw.
Maintenance on the nodes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I would suggest...
That's the whole idea behind crypto, and why DEXs are a thing, and why everything is going to be moving on chain, is because all of these custodial wallets, whether they are exchanges or whether they are services, yes, they make it easy, but they do that on purpose because they're delivering you a service and they will take profit on that service. Absolutely. You see it with banks nowadays, you see it with financial industries. They're all taking profits on the fact that you don't know how to do it yourself, which is fine. But we're getting into crypto, yes, to make money, but also because we're changing the financial world. If you're just going to be leaving all of your stuff that you're actively using, dots that you're actively using on an exchange, we're just keeping the old financial world alive.
That's right.
Very true.
I'll give you even more reasons to be bullish about DOT, okay? Did you know that 18,936 DOT tokens are currently in the DOT treasury, and they're dedicated to education and funding of new projects that build on DOT? 18,936,000 DOT tokens, not dollars, DOT tokens. And did you know that they burn $240,000 dots, excuse me. So 240,000 times 40 dots in dollars worth every single month. There's a lot of reasons to think about burning every month. 240,000 dots are burnt every month.
Can I tell you another interesting fact? And it's not about DOT, but they're 40% of the BNB tokens are currently held by the team, and they are about to burn 50% of the existing BNB, which will mean that 80% of the entire circulating BNB will be owned by the team. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's completely in line.
Not to mention that every node that actually runs the Binance Smart Chain is owned and run by Binance and no one else.
Indeed.
Yeah. I got screwed over a few times. I'm sure there's plenty of stories of people that got screwed over by Binance. It's probably the worst place to trade. I mean,
or other exchanges. Really, it's not just Binance. Binance gets the most media coverage because they're the biggest. All of the exchanges usually.
They're notorious.
You should really be a politician.
That's what I said.
Not just Binance. There's other exchanges available.
Well, I mean, no, I shouldn't be a politician because I am not kind to a lot of larger institutions. Let's put it like that. No, but jokes aside, like, I have funds sitting on exchanges. Yes, I do like the convenience of it too. But I generally draw the line between, am I trading this or am I investing in this? And if I am investing in something, I'm taking it off an exchange and I'm putting it somewhere on the chain. I'm either staking it, I'm putting it in a liquidity pool, or I'm just having it in my wallet if that's more convenient. Because that is an investment. That is for something for the future, for longer times. If I'm trading something, you know, I'm buying it now and expecting to sell it within a month or so. You can leave it on exchange. That's fine because you're not really doing anything with it anyways. But if you're expected to be using this infrastructure, to be using this technology and their tokens, there's no benefit in leaving it on an exchange.
Can I ask you a question then? Do you have any plans to sell when we are near a top with those things that you're investing in longer term, or are you just literally going to hold them and deal with what may come?
It depends on what it is.
I'm kind of asking that for the sake of people that are listening in as much as anything, because other people might follow your advice and take them off the exchange and not really consider it that.
Gotcha. So
where they want to sell that. Oh, hang on a minute, I've got stuff everywhere. You know?
No, that's a good point. So in my experience, and I'm not a very experienced trader. I am nearing to being an experienced investor. But hey, this is my first actual bull run too. So, you know, my advice might not be worth as much as someone else's who's been there before. But my plan, at least, is, well, things that I've traded and that I see. I really don't really trade. What I mean with trade, I guess, is something that I like because I expect it to do well in the near future. That is the coming 2 to 3 months, or what Bilo has been talking about with BTC and with alts and their action in this bull run, where I am trying to maximize my own value that I put in and taking that out with, say, 70 to 80%, and then leaving a little bit for if the bull run goes, I don't know, super cycle, or whether it does become something interesting that stays a lot higher than I was anticipating. For investing coins, I would rather say I might liquidate or take profit rather on, say, 20, 30, maybe 40%, but 60% I will keep no matter what, because I expect those investments to be worth a lot more in the future than they are, you know, going to be this cycle.
And especially if you stake them, because you're automatically getting more.
Especially if you stake them, because on that matter, if it is an investment and if you're expecting to, well, hold that 60%, if you are already planning to hold that 60% no matter what, not staking that 60% is diluting your share of the total. You are losing money if you do not stake it. Especially when in these projects that say, like, yeah, we got 40% APY or we got 80% APY. Like, that's nice, but if you're not doing it, that means that every day you lose a lot of value because other people are getting a lot more tokens.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
Inflation and inflationary, they're all nice terms, yes, at the longer run, but where are those tokens now? Chainx, for example, or Bitcoin, for example, are both not inflationary. They have a max cap and they are deflationary. Well, what does deflationary mean? It doesn't mean that tokens are being burned, both in Chainx's and in BTC's case. It just means that the inflation that happens, the new minting of tokens, slows down over time. That's what they call deflationary. Whereas deflationary can also be taken as the total supply will go down over time, which isn't true. Hence, make sure that whatever you're researching or whatever you're reading is well understood, because a lot of these terms can be used, you know, how do you call that? A lot of these terms can be used interchangeably and sometimes wrongly. The same with APY and APR. Big difference between those two.
Can you explain the differences for those who are listening?
APY, APR. APR is Usually, and this is where this gets complicated because the definition and the general usage are different. The general usage is how you would normally see them. The definition would be how they would be in the book. But to keep this relevant for those listening, APR would be what you'd have today, as in, say we have an APR of 80%. That means that today's interest on what you have staked today is a certain amount that if you were to do that times 365, you'd get 80%. But tomorrow, that can be an entirely different number. If tomorrow that the rest of the world buys coins and also stakes them, that APR can go down to 2% overnight because it is just a daily rate. It is a daily rate or a monthly rate or a weekly rate that has been put in an annual, what do you call it, in an annual perspective so that you can more easily compare them with other projects, which is fine. You do that in the traditional investing world as well because it makes for easy comparison. But the problem is that they still remain daily rates, whereas APY is given usually, and this is again not the definition but more of the usual usage, is something that takes into account all of these factors that can change as much as it can and tries to give you a most accurate amount of yearly rate that you can expect if you started today and then in 365 days would come back. For example, the APR might be 80%. You could then say, okay, so when I come back in a year, I might expect 80% increase. That might not be true because the daily rate might change. Instead, a project could say, no, we'll just advertise an APY and we will take that 80% APR or that daily increase, whichever way that changes, whether it goes up or whether it goes down, we'll try to predict that and give you an more accurate reading that could more closely resemble the expected outcome. Because we know, for example, and I'm taking ChainX as an example because I know how the tokenomics work. ChainX, if you take it on a daily level, you could expect 40% APR. But if you check the tokenomics and if you check as many predictions as you can, things that you know almost for fact, the actual APY is 25%. So we can advertise this as ChainX to say we have 40% APR, which everyone would find amazing. But really, in reality, it's fairer towards someone to say its APY is 25%. And that's where this difference is very important to know. APR and APY aren't the same. So be careful with what you read.
Thank you.
Thanks
That's
for
a very
that.
good explanation.
Alex, I'm looking at parachange.info, and it shows here that ChainX has announced. What does that mean?
Well, that's interesting. We need to update that info. I know that parachange.info is a community-run project. As far as I know, it is funded by the Dot Treasury, I believe.
Yeah.
And they're in contact with a lot of the projects and try to keep up to date regarding news that comes out on Twitter, or sometimes talk directly with the teams to update this information. So, for example, for ChainX, this metric here is sort of to give you an idea of at what stage this project is in, whereas technically ChainX has already been created, it has already been tested on Rococo, which is the official sort of testnet, actual testnet for both Kusama and Polkadot. And that would be stage 2 because it has been tested, and then stage 3 would be it's in the auction where it is, ready to use the crowd loans in trying to get a parachain slot, and then the fourth stage would be having a parachain slot. So Moon River, for example, would be at stage 4 for Kusama, not for Polkadot. So I'll have to speak with Parachains.info to update this because, I don't know how they want to run this. Because technically we used SherpaX, which is, our Kusama, to test on Rococo. So I suppose that probably here you would see Sherpa X. Yep, we're part of we have been part of the crowd loan. Didn't win, unfortunately. But hey, that's a different story. So technically, ChainX therefore has also been tested on Rococo, but I suppose they didn't count that because it wasn't the name ChainX that was on there.
Okay, thank you. So something I didn't mention to those that are not familiar with the parachain auctions is if you lock up your tokens with a project that does not win, you get your tokens back right away.
You get the tokens back at the end of the crowd loan.
No. If your project did not win, if the project you supported did not win, you don't wait 48 weeks. You get them back right away.
No, I know, but at the end of the crowd loan, they get them back, not at the end of the auction.
Okay, but not 48 weeks later, right?
No. So, a crowd loan runs for the duration of a batch. A batch is a couple of auctions with a couple of parachain slots bunched together. I do not know how they're going to do this with the next Kusama auctions, which are going to be every week. But basically there's different timers. For Kusama, one auction, aka the time in which projects can bid for a lease slot, is a 1 week 1 week time frame, and then the next auction starts and it takes for another week, and then the next auction starts and takes another week. Now, having to redelegate your KSM every time that an auction starts will become a weekly thing, and that just gets annoying. So instead they said you can open a crowd loan and you can open that for an X amount of time, say, I don't know, 24 days. That means that you can contribute your Kusama to this project that you'd like to back, and that project can then use your Kusama and bid on auction 1, but also if they don't win, on auction 2, and then if they don't win, also on auction 3. And if they still don't win after auction 3 and those 21 days have passed, you then have a 3 days window, meaning that after those 3 days, once that crowd loan has ended and they unfortunately were not able to bid for one of these parachain leases, parachain slots, the entire crowd loan and all the gathered KSM will be sent back to your wallet automatically.
That's it. That's what I just highlighted here, guys, on the page, okay? In blue, you guys see it?
So for that matter, your KSM will be locked for the entire duration of that crowd loan. So, you know, if you put your KSM in and...
According to this, it says if a project does not make the parachain, you'll get your tokens back in a few days after the auction ends. According to this.
Auctions, as in the batch of auctions.
So the current batch, yeah.
Which again for Kusama used to be, for the last 2 batches, it was 5 auctions times 7 days, X amount of days. Exactly. And so then from this, I'm assuming that there's going to be a batch of 4 auctions, meaning that the crowd loan will probably last 28 to 30 days, probably. After those 30 days have passed and the crowd loan is done, your KSM will be returned to you.
Yeah.
Do note, you cannot change your crowd loan delegation from one to the other whilst the crowd loan is ongoing. If you've deposited it and your backed project is not winning, you cannot take it out prematurely. You'll have to wait till the end of the crowd loan.
Cool. Does anybody have any other questions on the parachain auctions? Anything else we can try to...
There was a request on some TA.
On which token?
GRT and flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Amber's
That's not me. I'm not walking the dog.
Amber's having fun with the chart. All right. Flow. Do I have flow here? No. I'll leave that.
Oh, but that ETH is going up nicely.
Okay, I really thought I had flow somewhere, but I'll just do it.
Just quickly, I'd just like to say thank you very much to Alex. I think he's off now, so that was great, and thank you so much for your explanations of everything. I think there's going to be quite a few people who find that valuable. It was very nice to have you on.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you, Alex. So,
Very welcome.
Flow is more of an FA than a TA because there was tokens getting unlocked. Last week, I think it was, there were tokens on which helped me out, CoinList, that were sold for $7. And then there were some private sale tokens that are being released. So we saw this dump all the way down to $12. I don't know if this is a recovery more than it is a correction before we continue back down. I don't know the details of the tokenomics release. If anybody on this call does know, that would be very helpful to analyzing what's going to happen. Are there more tokens getting released to private sailors?
There definitely are at some point. I think they might be monthly.
Okay, so for now, is the release over for now? Are there any more tokens getting released, like in the next day?
Not in the short term, no.
Okay, so then this here could be a recovery until the next batch of tokens get released. If you put in buy orders at around $12, you hit it on the dot. I put some at 10. I didn't get any. So if this is over, well, you could kind of just very quickly draw, see what we can come up with here. If there's a channel or what is there, it looks more like a channel. Doesn't, like I said, guys, I can't really do TA on this. It's not a lot of data and just around the release. If the release is over, this is a nice looking hammer here. It's very bullish looking hammer. Very nice volume that we see here. So if the release is over, we should be testing the top of this back at $17. And if we break out, well, it's obviously a very positive sign. A lot of hype around the project Flow. There's a lot of talking about it. Last week we spoke about it a little bit. We had Kai with us, and he educated us a little bit about Flow. Yeah, unfortunately, from a TA perspective, there's not much because this here is a result of the unlock of the tokens. It's not a natural move. It's an FA dump. Sorry, can't say more on this. Unless Pumpeye, you have something to add?
No, I don't.
Okay.
How about GRT, sir?
I suppose we could put in a few kind of like, resistances. So this is going to be a resistance for sure. You might see a resistance here. You might see a resistance here. So these are points to look out for, but at this stage, given where we are, we would have broken out. So, you can start looking at these kind of pretty obvious resistance points. This one is not major, but definitely here and definitely in this zone right here. So if we make it above here and then we start to look above this point, then it looks like we might be good to go. GRT?
Yes.
I guess on GRT there was a good confirmation for the breakout, but yeah, let's have a look.
Okay, so I mean, you can't not notice kind of the structure, right? So we see this structure here. It's looks a lot like a cup and handle structure. Testing in this zone, you could make the argument that the candle should be here. That doesn't really matter. So we'd be looking for a similar setup to the one we showed earlier on DOT, where we have a cup and handle formation. So looking to complete this here. Next step would be to see where the resistances are from here to here. So we take the top, and we're basically looking to see what happens in this zone. I'll just draw it out. We want to get above this here. Anyway, you get the point. This zone here in red, we want to get above this zone here. After we get this zone, we should technically go make it back up here, and then if everything remains bullish, the technical target for a cup and handle is always the depth of the cup from the neckline, transposed on top of the neckline. So we'd be somewhere in this zone here, which makes sense because that's another resistance. So we'd be looking to be somewhere here. I'll try to make it clearer. There we go. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
How about having a look at, did you look at Solana earlier?
Today, no.
Are you sure you haven't looked at Solana today? You look at Solana every 5 minutes.
Yeah, but no, not today. So I actually haven't T8 Solana here.
For a little while. You can tell because you've still got that parabolic curve there.
Yeah, but I know I T8 it somewhere else. Let me just, maybe it was on this one here. Anyway, it looks gorgeous. I can't say anything. It just looks beautiful. I thought I had another one though. Oh, here we go. Okay, that's what I was looking for. So, yeah, this is my path for Solana. That's the one I was looking for. And so far, it's really on point. So, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 target is somewhere here, only because it's the target of this triangle here. And then we'd see a retracement to wave 4, which I would like to see test the top of the channel. And this is classic, so you guys know, classic Elliott wave. Because wave 2 retraced so much and it took some time to retrace, wave 4 will be sharp and should test the top of the channel before we make it back up to wave 5. And wave 5 will be an all-time high. That's my outlook for Solana. Oops, sorry. This is what I think will happen on Solana. It's a beautiful chart.
Well, it was until you put all those lines all over it.
Very important to get above this here, this 618.
We already are.
No, we're not. We're just.
Oh, that was another yellow line. Sorry. I got confused. Sorry.
This line here, let me change the color. Here you go. This is just a rising triangle, but here we have an inverse head and shoulders. We have a cup and hat. We have so much going for it. It's just, there's a rising triangle, an inverse, a cup and handle, and an inverse head and shoulders. I mean, yeah, it really looks nice. And this volume that's showing up here is also very nice. Bullish.
Very, very good.
Bullish.
So
Very,
it's
very
an
good.
inverse cup and shoulders.
I'm sorry?
It's an inverse cup and shoulders.
It's a rising inverse cup and shoulders.
It's a teapot and a plate.
Pumpy's the short and stout.
Yeah.
Teapot full of shampoo.
So look, guys, some important parts is we broke above this here. When we broke above, then we had this support line right here, and this just kind of made for a naturally beautiful looking rising triangle, which has all kinds of bullish formations happening inside of it. Just beautiful.
How about giving us the lowdown on Luna? Because Luna broke out today.
Yes, I know.
I told you.
Well, luckily, I put in a buy order just thinking, do you know what? I think it's going to go. And it did. So I put in a buy order before it broke out. Just before it broke out.
So I didn't keep it a secret. I did say that we have the risk of a...
It's like the chart of doom. That you might as well have just have written, we're going to die.
No. I actually...
You even took the triangle off.
I actually, after I posted this, I actually put in a special note saying, this is just a chart, not financial advice. It could very easily not work out because head and shoulders very often bounce at the neckline. I actually wrote that. But it's not over because until we get above this, the risk is still there. And I think I sent one of my friends today, one of my buddies today, a chart showing that we already had a lot of bearish divergence, which is right here. Extreme bearish divergence. So, yeah, it could be pumping on FA, it could be pumping because whatever, but from a TA perspective, this
4 hour.
doesn't look very good.
That's quite true. And yeah, the
But sorry, let me just say something.
that's all right.
This here still looks like a cup, and this bearish divergence could make its way towards the handle. So
Yeah,
we
very
could end
true.
up seeing.
So at the moment, he is still your friend.
We could end up seeing this. Oops, not that. Sorry. Shut up! Stop. How does it stop?
Wow, so it goes back in time now as well. You're good.
Here. Why do I have all these colors?
Bilo doesn't watch the charts, and the charts don't just go up and to the right for Bilo. They also go down and to the left.
That's right.
There
So what
are
was
some
the
charts in
target?
CoinGecko that do that.
I'll bet there are. Bilo, what's the market cap of Luna?
I'll tell you in a second. I just want to see what the target of this potential.
I posted some before on CoinGecko. The chart it did a loop and then went backwards.
Was that SHIB?
I don't know what it was. I found some where instead of just a straight line, it would do loops and go back on itself.
Nice. So, right, sorry to cut you off there, Mark, but the market cap of Luna is 17.44 billion, and I know for a fact that there's quite a few people. You don't need to do it, Bilo. I've already looked. I've got it in front of me. I know there's quite a few people who are, like, obviously moon boy figuring, saying Luna to $1,000. Now,
Eventually, yeah.
yeah,
But
but
that's
I
in
mean,
10 years.
yeah, exactly. I mean, all-time high
So-
so far was 49.70.
Well, first of all, you have to take into account that the market cap you're looking at, is it fully diluted or or the current market cap. Because what you want to look at is fully diluted market cap, which makes your argument even better in the sense that you can't have that expensive of a Luna.
No.
Well, the other thing to take into account, since the upgrade on chain, when they burn Luna, it gets burnt for good. It doesn't come back, whereas before that wasn't the case.
Okay.
As opposed to the Mother of Dragons.
So it is deflationary then.
Yeah, it's just switched to deflationary.
Nice.
Plus, Wormhole has just been released, so UST is going to start appearing on Solana and things like that as well as a true deflationary stablecoin.
There is a message in the chat saying that rumors UST on
Yeah.
Binance.
Yeah, apparently UST is going to be listed on Binance.
Yeah.
And for everybody to create UST, they have to burn Luna.
Okay. Isn't that also what you get for staking, or is it what you stake?
Yep. No, you can stake UST, but you can actually get UST for staking as well. There's about 11 different coins that you get for staking also. It's awesome.
Okay, so we can take into perspective though that Ethereum is 486 billion market cap. So I guess it depends on how big the ecosystem gets, doesn't it? Over time.
Huge. Yeah, there's apparently a really big game coming to Luna as well.
Do you know what it is yet?
I'm trying to find out. I will tell you when I find out.
Are you going to tell me too, or just him?
Just him. You've not bribed me enough this week.
Okay.
Can I just tell you something? I just want to give a big shout out to Mark Richardson, who is one of the Bancore team, for being an absolute legend. He was doing our AMA earlier today, and he is still answering the questions.
That is amazing.
He
Really?
literally said, I'm going to go and get a coffee and I'll answer all the questions. And he has sat there since, I mean, UK time right now, it's 10:48 p.m. and he has been there since 6 p.m. UK time. So he's basically just been answering questions other than yours for the last nearly 5 hours.
No, he's quite a guy. I enjoyed the AMA a lot, and he educated people not just on Bancore but on DEXs in general.
Well, I'll tell you what. I hope the people who are asked the questions are reading his answers, because I mean his in-depth tutorials, all sorts. He is literally answering every single question.
And if you know,
he's a walking wiki.
He's actually a microbiologist. He's a scientist. He's a smart man. He's got
at the beginning, he also said, "I will answer all the questions."
Yep.
And then he wrote back not that long ago, "I did say I was going to answer all the questions."
Yeah, he did. I said I'd answer all the questions. That was.
Does he not have Netflix?
That was 15 minutes ago.
So
but yeah,
guys,
that guy is a machine.
We have 10 more people. We're 10 actually, all of us together on the chat on this video today. Again, I'd like to encourage, first of all, thank you all for joining, but I'd like to always encourage you guys to send us your comments, how we could improve, how we could make this more fun, more educational. If you're happy, great, thank you. If there's anything you'd like to see us do that we're not doing, please suggest it. Our aim is to provide you guys with education, with our points of view, and at the same time, learn from you. I mean, we had Alex today. We were very happy to have him, who taught us a lot of things. It could be any one of you to, come in and say, I'd like to add a few cents, and just please do it. We're happy to have you and listen to what you have to say. But again, we encourage you to send us DMs and just give us your opinion on what it is that you'd like to see or improve or whatever the case may be. And we would really appreciate it in return if you would follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, smash that like button, tell your friends about us. We're here every Wednesday. We really care about what we do, and we try to bring you the best we can. So If you're happy, our reward would be for you to tell your friends and help us to grow this channel. Thank you, Pumpai.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we will be back next Wednesday at so if you'd like to join us again next week, then please do so. You can join us on YouTube, and you can also come and join us on our Zoom meetings and ask us questions if you like, as Bilo said. And thank you very much for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.